So there was a golden era of drones. Drone flying is pretty much dead. Sort of, kind of. I went through all of the effort to become a drone pilot, suffered through the test. There's obviously like smart Alex out there that will say, oh, the drone test is super easy, like blah, 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 blah. But I found it to be not difficult per se that you couldn't study for it and just get it done. But it wasn't necessarily a freebie. Like you did kind of have to learn some stuff and stuff that I didn't know anything about, like reading flying charts and stuff like that. So I wouldn't necessarily say that the test was like a freebie. It's a little bit of a challenge too. I did all that. And what I started to realize was that no matter how much I read the rules, no matter how much I would try to do things right, I would just get yelled at every time I wanted to fly my drone. That might be because I'm a 5 foot tall little lady and that makes people comfortable to come up to me or something. Every time I would go fly, I'd have some sort of issue. Now, if you're flying for a client, let's say you're flying for a dentist and you're flying on their property, then you're all good. But if you want to go fly for fun, that's kind of over. First of all, there's remote ID, which I haven't even flown since that got implemented. I think that random Karens and stuff can just pull up your information if they like know about the topic at all. And I find that really off-putting because it's like I don't really want people to come and find me and like yell at me. You would think that you get the license and you do all that stuff and you are able to fly and kind of not have, I wouldn't say repercussions because you still can't like go do whatever you want, but I would think that you would have an easier time flying. That's not necessarily the case. You have remote ID now, so anybody can find your drone. All of the, first of all, anywhere that you would want to fly, like national parks, stuff like that, forests, there are technically no fly zones unless you get like special permitting and stuff, but that would be for like an actual production that they allow that. You kind of just can't really fly anywhere desirable that you would want to fly for fun on paper, right? I mean, people go and they do it without a license, but now that I'm licensed, I just like don't want to do it because I'm like, I can't do it. But if you were not licensed, then maybe you could pretend like feign innocence and be like, I don't know. I didn't know I was supposed to not fly here. And so I feel like the rules are kind of made to hurt the people who actually went through the effort to do all this. And I think that's kind of a little messed up. So let me explain. What I mean by coming up, like random people coming up to yell at you, is that you will go, I have done this actually, personally. I have gone to, because national parks and stuff like that can make their own regulations, right? But state parks and other city parks, they have their own individual regulations. So you can go and read their municipal codes. Don't know if I'm saying that right. Municipal. You can go and read their codes and actually see their exact drone rules. And a lot of them don't have drone rules.
So I'm actually living in the state of Texas right now. It's been a minute since I've looked at all this stuff, but I was looking at the Texas rules, and there are so many rules that they might as well tell you not to fly at all. They might as well just tell you to throw your drone in the trash, because there's a rule in here that says you can't use the footage if you could see somebody's face basically in the images. Like, what?
But what happens is that there's a park ranger or some employee at the park, and even though there's no rules towards flying, they will come up and yell at you. And while you are technically in your right and they can't tell you what to do, it's just really embarrassing. And also, I just kind of don't want to deal with that. Like, I just generally don't want to deal with somebody coming up to me to yell at me. Even if I know I'm right, it's just that interaction like puts, especially being like a little lady, is like, I don't want some random like park ranger coming up to me trying to tower over me and yell at me. So yeah, and then there were, I think it ended up not getting passed, but they ended up trying to ban DJI drones. It's like a total mess right now. I just feel like a bunch of the YouTube crowd kind of ruined it for everybody else. And so now it's just been such a mess. It's like, yeah, it's just been pretty bad, like just a huge mess. I just don't even want to fly anymore. I don't even want to renew my flying. Like I just feel like it's not worth it anymore. Oh, and in terms of client work, like nobody really asks for drone, and if they do, they tend to like want to shove it in there and like make me do an extra thing that I'm not getting paid for necessarily. So it's just like kind of not worth it. And the drones are really expensive, and like for example, I can't even remember the last time I've flown. Nobody asked for it. I can't fly for fun. I lived in the state of Washington. I couldn't fly anywhere that I would want to fly. There was this one park actually. I'll tell you this story. There was this one park near Seattle, and this was back when I was trying to fly for fun. I searched up the codes for that specific park, and there was nothing about drone rules. But either way, just to cover my tracks, I called the park and the staff, and they told me that while it wasn't in the codes, that if I flew drone there, I would kill the birds. And like, they kind of just intimidated me a little bit, where it made me like, okay, well, I'm in the right and I can go do this. Are they gonna come up to me and yell at me because they think I'm gonna kill birds? Which, by the way, I mean, you wouldn't really want to fly next to a tree. That's where the birds would be. I don't know. I've never been in a situation where like birds have been near my drone, but I guess it's theoretically possible that there would be a bird in the air and it would try to attack the drone, or the drone would hit the bird. I don't know, but I've never been in that situation personally. I would like to fly, but I don't like the remote ID thing. I don't like that anybody could look up my information and go see. They could actually see exactly where you're flying and find you. It's like weird. Like, there's a lot of people with vendetta against drones because they think you're like spying on them. It's just the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. I don't know why people think that they're so interesting or think that you're looking at them. But there's definitely a lot of people like that out there, and it's just, I'm not really trying to be in that position. So yeah, but let me know what you think. Is drone flying dead for you? Are you still flying? What do you think about it? These kind of like new laws and them trying to ban drones and all this stuff. Like, I don't know. I'm just not feeling the whole drone thing, I guess. When it's fun, it's really fun, but I don't know. I guess like I would want to fly in like a national park or something, and you can't. So on paper you can't, because I'll go, like, that's the worst part too, is that I'll go to like Olympic National Park or whatever, and there'll be somebody with a drone, but they'll just not have the license. They'll just say that they didn't know, or like, oh, it's like under the weight for registering it or whatever, and they just kind of like get by like lying. Not saying that you should do that, but I guess that's what you have to do in order to fly, is like just feign ignorance, I guess. But I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. But I'm burnt out of drones. I'm actually considering selling my drone. I think it just sits there collecting dust. It's probably not worth that much at this point, but it's better than it just sitting there. To my point of flying a drone, I haven't really looked up this park specifically, but this is a good example of a park that you would think that you could practice in and just mess around with the drone. I bet you somebody in this park would show up and just come yell at me if I started flying right now, even if I was within my right. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you have a house, you could maybe fly out of your property. I don't know where people are flying for fun, if they're even flying for fun at all. I mean, maybe they're just doing real estate, so they're doing it for work. I have 3 microphones behind me. I just realized that basically this interface like broke. This is like a pretty nice interface, and it just decided to break. And this was me trying like something else temporarily. So the pain. Ding ding.